Hello and welcome to the show. Merry Christmas, everybody. As is FailRace tradition, yes, I have gone and set up a little track, a little scalextric track for the cats to be enjoying. Because, well, it is an awful lot of fun. And naturally, they will go, well, actually, they're very curious about this room, A, because I've been decorating it a lot. They hadn't been in here for a while. This is going to become my office. And B, because, well, they haven't seen the scalextrics for a long time. Deon, of course, is immediately interested in the little car whizzing around. Eve is, let's say, less fussed. She's just more, curious in general, having a little bit of a nosy around, as they do. Deon is doing. We're trying to hunt the car. Doesn't quite know how. I mean, how do you approach hunting a little scalextric car? She is definitely not sure about this one. The amount of times that cat tails find their way onto the track is, got to be careful. Got to be careful with this one. Now I bought a selection. I have many cars. I grabbed a few of them to see how the various different ones would work. Even Cass, Cass came along as well. He is normally the much more sensible one, the much more regal one. But he's not going to pass up an opportunity to come and have an investigate. Dagon's still desperately trying to figure out what to do with the car. She definitely wants to chase it, but then when she catches it, she doesn't know really what to do. She's not quite brave enough to go for it, and can't quite decide on the best approach. So it just ends up in, the spinning around kind of cat until I inevitably run out of grip and get the Aston Martin stuck. Now, I do need to train the cats to try very, very slow motion take on. Do need to try and train the cats to get them to go and nudge the car around, put it back in line. It's still technically on the circuit. It's just they've got quite powerful magnets in the back of these, and it's just sort of hooked itself on the other track, and it's at such an angle where it can't really move itself forward. But Dagon can go and have a little bit of a sniff. Now I did decide to run the Blues Brothers machine. This one here is quite a loud car. It's I don't know what causes the different sounds in them, but either way, this one here is relatively loud and does not have very much grip at all. It did have loose strings on it and bits and pieces, which made me wonder whether they would be interested in that. Cass was interested in the car, and once it was crashed, they went over to go and have a little bit of a sniff and a bit of an investigate. I was fully expecting Dagon to try and bite the string or pull the string and, that sort of stuff as Cass becomes corner marshal. But no, she was just content to have a good investigate of it. And then, well, when Cass decided he wanted to go and have a bit of an investigate of it, Dagon was just a bit unnecessarily mean. Although she does know that she will lose that fight, so it was like a quick backed and then kind of hide yourself in a corner because Cass will win that one every day of the week. And now the car is just stuck. She wanted to kind of go and sort of bat at it and poke at it, but opted against that one and was happy to just wander off. So I got the car reset, and Eve decided she was going to sit in the way. But naturally, they just sort of put the head in the way, or tail, or paw, so you have to kind of come to a halt. This car, of course, is much taller than the other ones, so you have got to be a bit careful. Cass is curious about the car. I mean, it's always more difficult getting Cass to be, I say playful, but he's got the head tilt going on. The head tilt means he wants to chase it. It's a funny thing that he does, in that he doesn't do it with many toys. It's most noticeable with the scalextric is when he really, really wants to chase it, but can't quite decide what to do. Dagon is once again getting her tail in dangerous places. There is a tail in dangerous places, and now her butt's on the track, which is not so helpful. And also that little bit of track, because that's where a lane changer. There is a little bit on it where as Eve's going to go investigate the scoring tower, there's a little bit on that where there is a dead zone where the cars will stop running. So you got to kind of pick the bit where you stop a smidge carefully. The Dodge Monaco, of course, very very slidey. Very slidey car, this one. It is amazing. I mean, I've got a good selection of these scalextric cars now, and it's amazing how different they all handle. This thing here is quite fast, but it is very slidey. Dagon was still interested in it. She was tempted to be going chasing. Ignore set of office. It's still being, well, just finished being decorated. And this is all the boxes scalextrics came in, and Cass wanted to hide around by it because why not? His little viewing point was between the boxes. That was just where he wanted to sit and take on very, very gently patting at the car. Again, managed to knock one of the bits of string off, but didn't try and bite it, which I was very much expecting her to, because she does like string. But no, she's just kind of very lightly headbutting the car, and that was it. That was the levels that she was going for at the moment. Just content to have a little bit of a nosy around the place. Cass was still curious. Now he might be, a very, very shy cat, but no, he was still curious. He came out and then immediately decided to have a clean. And sure, why not? Just gonna stand there. Now I did go put the Corvette down. This thing is relatively fast. However, it is no grip, and trying to drive and film and everything all at once was not ideal, and I quickly gave up, with the Corvette having immediately fallen off the track. But again, Dagon had to go and have a sniff, had to go and have a bit of an investigate of the car, even if it had, gone and had an accident. So, we can get a cute cat in the Corvette. And then Eve looks a little bit evil. She's giving some evils in the background. The phone was not focusing very well, but the Corvette didn't go well. So I returned back to the Aston Martin for, well, I say with a reason. This is Dagon's favourite toy. Now, it was from a lure, like one of the, it was on a bit of elastic on a stick, and you could, jingle it around and so on. It did come from one of those, but it long since broke. However, this part of the toy is absolutely Dagon's favourite, to the point where she will carry it around with her, and all of that kind of thing. And it jingles, and I thought I'd put it on the back of the car and see what interest. So I had to go back to the Aston Martin because I needed to use the wing. The advantage of the wing is, you could shove the toy under there. And this is where you see the car get stuck on the sort of track changing bit as well. Dagon had figured out. I say Dagon had figured out. But yeah, Dagon down there could cause grief because I'd have to stop the car. She also does the funny little head tilty thing that Cass does. So Cass is the only cat I've ever seen that does that when he's sort of like super playful. And I've never seen Dagon do it before, but she does still do the kind of like head tilting, twitching thing when she really wants to go and chase. She's very much in the I want to go and chase that car, but doesn't quite know. I don't know whether it doesn't quite know how to or what to do. It's just content with running around. Now I should say this is her favourite toy. It's not like she'll play fetch with it. So I'm not completely sure that sticking the toy on the roof made a huge amount of difference to why she was chasing. I think she just was happy to have a play. It's something to run around with. She does love the lures and all of that kind of thing. So yeah, this is kind of ideal for a Dagon who will be happily bouncing around and trying to figure out what to do. I mean, she is better than sometimes I've had with the cats and the track. Like she was actually relatively well following the track. She was cutting the circuit a little bit, but she was following it around, and was just trying to get her to chase it along. Of course, then we have the tail blockage. Now, sometimes I've had the cats learning that they can just kind of lay across the track. Eve was quite good. Eve was very good, has been very good in the past, of just laying across the track, and that means that cars have to come to a stop. Dagon was so gentle with patting at the cars, which was very, very cute indeed. And then Eve decided that enough things had been going on and that she was going to sit on me. This is what she does a lot of the time during filming and or just editing. In fact, just before I started doing this voiceover, this is what she does. She does absolutely love nothing more than trying to sit, which makes it very difficult. It's very difficult to be trying to film and, everything when she decides that. But, she had to go get herself comfy, and sure enough, she had got herself comfy. I will say, these jeans are not thick enough, and there is a lot of cat claw marks in my leg from her shuffling around trying to get comfy. But, it's cute, so she gets away with it and everything. And then we went back to seeing if I could get Deon to chase the car. But instead it was Eve that was most curious. Yes, Eve wanted to go properly chasing the car. Well, I say properly. Briefly. It's a lot of effort. But it was the first sign that Eve was keen on having a chase of the car as well. So that became the next goal, was to try and get, Eve or Deon continued to be enjoying the game of chase the car around the place. I did just put, it's an old catcher, I need to get another one in here just to see whether, some of them would like that as a vantage point. Eve was deciding to investigate the boxes and the radiator, and then was going to have a standoff with the car. She does love, as I said before, she does like to block the track. Not so much this time, but she has done in the past. It was a bit of a pounce at the car, a solid pounce, and Deon went over to investigate as well. On this one, Eve, the corner marshal, was back in her spot, and sent the car back on its way. So it was kind of a game of could I entice Eve to have a chase of the car. Cass wandered back in. He comes in. He comes and goes as he pleases. He zoomed his way out of the office at one point when I wasn't filming, and made his way back in. It was very much a game of who would chase the car next. Deon was looking likely, but it was Eve that would go full for it, pounding down the road. She was trying to get the toy. To be fair, she sort of got it once with a bat, trying to get it off the roof of the car. And then it was full speed ahead, and she moved surprisingly fast for not a small cat. She really can go for it. It's just quite funny watching her very much go for it. Couldn't quite get the car this time around. Deon wasn't quite sure what to make of the big zooming Eve. Cass had seen enough and decided that he wasn't going to be a part of any of this shenanigans. Now the expectation was, when was Eve going to go for a big zoom again, and sure enough, full speed Eve into the car, and she knocked it off the track. Showed no care for her victory particularly. She had beaten the car, quite convincingly beaten the car. In fact, the Aston Martin was crashed. And then Deon decided to go and have, again, they're useless. They could help me by, booping the car back onto the circuit, but no. Eve was still very much in the mood to chase the Aston Martin around. If anything, she was a little bit more sort of full commitment than Deon. While Deon would go after it, I say, more times, although it was a speedy approach and then a slam on the brakes for a Deon, who then completely blocked the track. That's the Eve approach. That is the Eve method. Normally, if you lay across the track, the car has to stop. And that is, normally the Eve approach. Deon is full, get as low to the floor as you possibly can. And I didn't know which way. The poor DBR9 did not know which way the attack was going to come from. Eve was, not quite in the way, actually. The car just somehow ground to a halt on that one. I don't quite know. It's not exactly the best layout. It's a bit bumpy, not perfectly made, but it's good enough for the cats to go around here, and exciting enough for Eve to want to go full wrecking ball. Managed to drive it underneath her. That was fine, and then she goes full pouncy mode and manages to flip the car. Not only has she managed to knock it off the track once, she has managed to flip it and get the car upside down. Didn't quite get the toy off of the roof. She looked very pleased with herself, but she had managed to roll the Aston. Well done, Eve. So car had to go and get reset. Deon promptly decided to go on the windowsill for reasons, and Deon, when Deon sits in these places, Deon never sits normally. As you could see, there is paws hanging off the edge. Eve was still in full chase mode. She was full speed ahead, trying to get the car and blocking the track, and then you could wait for a gap to try and get the car going again. Deon was continuing to be, I'm going to say ready. I'm not sure that's a ready to pounce pose or whether that's just a Deon being goofy pose. There's quite a lot of them. There's quite a lot of Deon being goofy poses that she can do. But sure, why not? why not just kind of hang off the sill, and then she would finally launch herself for it. It is not quite, as I said, it's just not quite the same level of commitment as an Eve chase. Like she will zoom away around a little bit, but Eve was very much full commitment. I also love the attempt at trying to make it look like she didn't just flop over in a weird way, that she could, clean herself. Definitely was just her being bizarre. Spin around in a circle on the spot, not quite ready to get the toy or anything like that. She did very much do the sort of lay down and get ready to kind of pounce on stuff, which was definitely cute. And then I'd overdone it again with the Aston and got it stuck. And now she could go and have a little bit of a bat at the car, a little bit of a sniff. Yeah, she will surely recognise that toy. It was unfortunately quite stuck. I was hoping she might manage to bat it the right way, but nope, which could lightly pat. Just lightly pat. Didn't do anything to go and rescue the car. As she wandered around, it did almost look like she might be able to help. There's a more light pat, and she did pull the back end of it almost back the right way and then headbutted it to kind of the angle it was at. It was closer. It was the closest I came to a cat recovering a car. But yeah, it's just the really light pats from Deon that I wasn't expecting, to be honest. Of all of them, Deon would be the one that I would expect would be properly pouncing at it. But it was Eve. It was Eve that was full send. She found a spot she enjoyed watching the car from. Cass made his way back. He couldn't stay away for too long. And he hadn't had a good chase of the car. And that was the goal. As you can see, he was starting to get interested again in the... he wanted to chase the car. I do feel... the thing with Cass is he has no problems with the others, of course, but when it comes to sort of playing, if it was him on his own, I think it would be quite different. When there's other cats around or anything else around, he is a little bit more reserved. Let's go with that one. That being said, by this point, it was definitely the Cass wanting to chase the car was going to overtake the Cass not wanting to run around with the others in here. So it was really a game of trying to entice him into chasing the Aston Martin if I could. The others had, I'm not going to say worn themselves out just yet, because certainly Deon can cause chaos and run around for many, many hours. But or it feels like it anyway. That's for sure. Cass was just there having fun watching the car, having a little bit of a sniff. It was one of those, like, you're waiting, because you can tell he's curious, and knowing him, he will want to chase it at some point. It's just about managing to get the right. You can see with the head movements, he's really wanting to go have a chase. So it was sort of try and slow the car down, and then give it a little bit of speed and entice him into having a proper chase of it. We're going to have again a little bit of a staring contest. Could we get the cat interested? No, he's just just gonna sit there. Nope, not quite. Almost got the cat. The ears are going full going. Eve had not moved. She had got her vantage point, and entertainingly, Deon had decided to join in the a sort of cat grandstand at the final corner. They were just happy to sit there and watch the car, which was probably the calmest I had seen the pair of them as they just sat there. Cass was definitely getting ready to go. He was almost in full launch mode. It was very close. It was very close to full launch mode. He is also doing the get as low to the floor as you possibly can, and then he would be ready to go. And it's launched, spin around, and that's a Cass attempt. And then we're going to attack the floor under the carpet and run away. It's not the best approach at managing to catch the car. It is the Cass way. When he gets the zoomies or whatever, it's just he doesn't quite know what to do with them. He doesn't quite know how to direct them, and just kind of runs off and away or around. And there's just he's not as good at chasing the car as the other two, who had were continuing their little grandstand spot. Cass was thinking about it, I was going to use the door for cover. Yes, you see, if we hide behind the door, you can sneak up on the car. Ignoring the fact the car can see you from one side and everything. But, you know, in Cass's mind, that was the theory, is that we could do the little bit of a sneak attack on the car, possibly. Although, again, he gets easily distracted. And these two were still enjoying the grandstand. Eventually, Deon would be the first to brake and go after the car. And with the others starting to jump around, Cass would perhaps be less inclined to go for the chasing. And then we've got full speed Eve again, trying to go for for the car. Up against the wall, there's not a huge amount of space for her to run, so that one made it a little bit more difficult for her in all of that. I didn't actually mean to change the lane of the car, and almost managed to bop Deon with a toy, so we put it back on the other lane, so it was less likely to get close to Deon, who had found a new fun little vantage point. Eve was definitely still in the I'm going to chase you sort of mode, and again, the game was who could you entice into chasing the car first, and the answer would be Eve, who would once more go for it, not really worrying about Deon being in the way whatsoever. It'd be Dagon's turn to have a go. Deon kind of... It's similar to Eve's technique, only Dagon's just less likely to actually hit the car, less likely to actually back the car off the track. Deon is just happy to kind of run around behind it with a little bit more... Say a little bit more in reserve. As I said, Eve just fully goes for it. Often is down the other side and is still not caring where Deon is. It's just the full speed Eve, who then, of course, doesn't look when crossing the track. It's very silly. Just, you know, will wander across the circuit, and that's that. But that was also the end of Eve's involvement. She's had her fun chasing the car, and Deon could... Nope, not quite. Make the Eve bridge. We got to drive underneath Eve once. Yeah. The cats, honestly, they had a whale of a time. They had a whale of a time with this. I was surprised to see... I was expecting Deon to be the one that was full committing catching the car, but Eve was very much enjoying it, and even Cass was getting involved as well. I got to teach them to put the car back into a straight line if it kind of oversteers and gets stuck. But, yeah, you know, they have much to learn. As ever, Scalextric with the cats is very, very good fun. I hope you have enjoyed just the general silliness that goes on with these three. The dog is too big and too strong, and I don't want to break my cars because he would probably bite a car. So yeah, Apollo not got to play with the Scalextrics, but the cats had a great time. That though is going to be it from me. Merry Christmas, everyone, and thank you all very much for watching. Until next time, goodbye.